You're all good.
Amy, no baby yet?
Now, I'm telling you, whoever wants to, pray really hard that this happens in July, I will be eternally grateful to every single one that does
Well,
that.
when is your due date?
The 13th of August. So,
Oh man, you got a long time to
I know,
go.
that's why, please don't make me go that far, people. Like,
You would never know that was her due date if you hung out with her for a while, because you feel like it's like any day now.
hey, yeah, that's in my world, it is.
Okay, so welcome. This is, I'm tired. This is the Monday night training. I need to start making sure I put that on there. And you know what I could do, Julie, because I know we're working on all the videos and stuff, but let me say up front in the very beginning, so you'd only have to listen to this far and find out you're on the wrong one if you are. Tonight is Monday, July the 6th, and our special guests tonight are Roxanne Berkey and Charles Brakefield of Brakefield and Berkey Enigma series. Anything else, Roxanne?
No, I think that's a great introduction. Thank you, Sandy.
So, if you did not intend to watch their presentation, and the title of the presentation is what, Roxanne?
So it really is a short story strategy. So that really is what we're going to focus on, is why you might do a short story and some of the avenues.
And we'll cover off on some of the metrics that you need to be considering if you're going to do it and do it professionally. So we want to cover some of the things we've learned the hard way, so somebody else can sidestep that.
But we always learn the hard way. It's how we roll.
I didn't know there was an easy way.
There isn't.
So I've been working with Roxanne Charles now since the cruise, and they just recently published Out of Poland, and what was the other short story?
Love's Enigma.
Ah, that's right. Oh, and I meant to read that one first. Okay, because I wanted to read that one, because that's a total break from your normal criteria that you work from with the Enigma series. So anyway, I may take a break from Rising and go read that. So I'm getting caught up on reading some of the Enigma series books. And one of the things I noticed working with Charles and Roxanne was that they were always submitting these short stories, and our press release sometimes is their short story, just one. And just one whatever, and several different kinds. And then they had one Out of Poland, I think was the first one that we actually did a press release, did everything for. And it is a very short version of some of their Enigma series stories. So one of the things we talked about in our weekly meeting was that they take these stories that are from this, there's stories about the same people, but they're like what they call backstories. So if you got a book that's Haley, 150,000 words or something like that, and you have to cut, this is a perfect thing for you to keep in mind. If the editor, the developmental editor, says to you, Haley, this story does not belong with this book. It doesn't meet the criteria. It's extra. And you're going to have to cut. So a good idea would be to cut the story. I know I've worked with a lot of authors. I had to cut stories, and I worked with a guy from Austin who's an attorney, and when I sent his book to receive an award, and he didn't even get honorable mention, and I was really surprised because it was a great story. And so I knew the person where I submitted the award, so I contacted him, and I'm like, I don't want to say anything to him or anything, but was there a reason he didn't even get honorable mention? She goes, he had so many extra stories in there that were unnecessary that I could not give him an award for that. So tell him before he submits any more books or submits that one to cut out some of those extra stories. Well, that's the first time anybody ever told me that. And I'm like, how can you have extra stories in a book? But she said, well, then she told me. So I went back to him and I said, told him exactly the message I got. And I said, so which stories do you want to cut? And he said, I don't want to cut any. I said, but some of them are not necessary. You get that some of them, you could read the book and it not be in there and nobody would have even noticed it. And he said, I still want them all in there. So I'm like, okay, so we won't be submitting it for any more awards then. Fine, that's fine. So we have some people that are keep having to, Tarina, I don't know what's going on. Do you keep getting kicked out or something? Anyway, so that was my first that I ever heard of that. So then I started hearing, more about it now. And then when Rox told me they make short stories, and I'm not going to tell you how they do that or what they do, that's going to be theirs. But I asked them to come tonight and talk about that because I keep hearing all of you being told that your book is too long, you have to cut this, you have to do that. Or sometimes an entire character gets cut by the developmental editor. So this is for all of you that write fiction. So if your whole character gets cut from the book, what can you do? Well, you can write a short story about that character and publish that, and it would still live on. So they're going to tell you a lot of other things. Those were the two things that I remembered in my conversations with them and with other clients. So I'm going to turn it over to them in just about 2 minutes, but I wanted to look and see if there's anybody else I need to introduce or welcome. Don't see anybody. So I'm going to turn it over to Rox and Charles. And Roxanne, you guys introduce yourself first, and then go into your presentation.
All right, well, let's make sure, first of all, that people can see the presentation.
Yep. I can. I don't know if everybody can. I can.
I can see it.
I do now.
Okay.
So, Brakefield.
Madam, thank you. So I'm Charles Brakefield. I'm the co-author in the series. And short stories. Why the short stories? That's a good question. And what we
No, you're introducing yourself. Just introduce yourself.
Okay, I did. Okay.
I'm not ready to go into it yet. I get to introduce myself.
Oh, okay. All right.
It's a two-author thing.
Okay, I'm fine. I'm fine here. All right. Charles Brakefield. I'm a co-author for the
Co-author of everything.
Co-author of everything that Roxanne touches, and I am pleased to be part of the partnership.
So I'm Rox Berkey. Both of us have 20 some odd years in technology and business. And so a lot of the series actually is based on technology as a foundation. Charles modestly forgot to admit that he was also the security geek in this partnership. So a lot of the security inroads and some of the ways we use technology come from a lot of the research that he does. So just to kind of set that straight. Now.
Okay. All right. Can I say short story now? Is it okay? It's so a little bit of shameless advertising there up front with some of the covers. But the main question was, okay, you're moving along, you're doing these excellent novels, and they weigh in pretty heavily. Heavily, I mean 100,000 words, 5,000 words, 150,000 words. It takes 3 to 9 months to be able to build, and then you have a pause, and the editors are going through it. The genre editors are whacking on it. You're cogitating about the covers, and all of a sudden it's like, well, wait a minute, I'm getting a little stale in my ability to be able to write. So the short stories were a good exercise to fill in between books. And what we found was that there was lots of places to be able to submit.
So one of the things that we do is we've been writing stories that are really focused into techno thriller kind of a genre, which is great because that's what we're really comfortable with. But when we do these short stories, we found out that we could kind of introduce ourselves to other genres. So
Yeah.
one of the first ones that we actually released is a story called Out of Poland, which Sandy, I know you just said you had recently finished it. So
Mhm.
Poland, rather than being technology based, is history based. So it's a historical fiction. So what it allows us to do is perhaps entice customers that normally wouldn't read techno thrillers to go, oh, Out of Poland, man, I kind of like that. Maybe I'll look at more of what these authors are doing. So that's one of the main reasons that we decided to start publishing them separately.
Yeah. So the short stories get us in different genres. They're faster to be able to build. Now, that's sort of a double-edged sword. You can build them faster, but that doesn't mean you can scrimp on the quality. So if you just, I made this. We tried this experiment. We'll lift out something and submit it as a short story, and we got scalded. So our counsel on this is make sure that you spend as much effort polishing it, finishing it, to get a quality product, whether it's 1,500 words, 5,000 words, or 7,500 words. It needs to be as polished and as professional as you can make the product.
And kind of back to what you were saying earlier, Sandy, when people have stories that they have to cut out because their editor says, that's just not necessary, it's not relevant to the story, it's not contributing to the story, and they take it out and cut it. To Charles's point, we've kind of tried doing that, and what we found was you still have to shape it like a story. It has to have the same beginning, middle, and end kind of functionality that the whole big stories have. It's just that you do it a smaller package. So just cutting it doesn't mean you're done with it. It means you still have to look at it as a standalone kind of entity to get that fast turnaround.
The other thing about short stories is that we've noticed that people's appetite for long stories seems to be diminishing, and that the short stories in the 3,000 to 7,500 word range is a real fast read for people who want a short story, but they don't want to invest, maybe 4 or 5 days or a week or so, or lose track of the book and put it down and pick it up. The short stories are good, hard-hitting, striking properties that, if handled properly, gets you into different marketplace, as Roxanne mentioned, and different exposure. And well, let's face it, if you can excel in another genre, it feels good.
You also get a different income stream. So, and what I mean by that is the short stories are not they're not the $5.99, the $4.99, $3.99 books. They're typically 99 cents. And I can tell you specifically on Out of Poland that I inadvertently ended up entering it into the KDP page read. Don't do that with short stories because you will end up not making the kind of, 99 cents is great, but a third of a penny a page is never going to get that back. So be careful doing that.
Yeah. Now, what to do with the short stories? Let's talk about that, because there are organizations they've got a small purse available for winners, first, second, and third, $100 or $50 in different arenas, they have because they're shorter reads. They can plow through them, and you'll see results back on the story contest in 30 days, 60 days.
So for example, can you see the screen now? I changed it. Can you see it? Okay. So this is a short story contest where we actually started writing short stories, to be honest with you, before we ever released them individually. And so this was part of Texas Authors originally. And now it's part of the Indie Lector, or the combined. So there's the International Short Story Contest, and then there's the Texas Short Story Contest. You actually have 3.5 more weeks, roughly, or until the end of July, to submit a short story here if you want to try your hand at it. So, this is a contest that we know is coming up really fast. It's one where there are multiple genres that you can go into, and it's only $35 to enter. So some short story contests are expensive. Some short story contests are free, depending on what you want to do. But this is one that I would suggest you consider between now and the end of July if you want to take a shot at doing a short story.
Now, one of the things that that happens with something like this, and you need to check and see what the requirements are. Now, in Indie Elector, if you snag a win, first, second, third, or the top of the cream of the crop, they take those short story winners and print it as a book offered for sale. Now, that surprises us when we snagged our second and third positions for 2 stories we submitted. Then they came up with this printed copy, and then we got to add that onto our table for the book fairs and onto our website as a property to be able to sell. So there are, and here's a picture of the first one that we showed up in. They printed it, their nickel, our intellectual property. Yes, they did ask for 6 to 9 months.
9 months that they typically own the value of that story before it reverts to us.
Yeah, so you get the property back, and so then you can. One of the stories that we put in there has been we've gotten it back from the to be able to print separately, and that's one of the one that we're releasing here in the next
60 days or so.
Yeah.
But one of the things that was very interesting about this, when COVID's not around, do any of you like to go to book festivals and sell your books and talk to people? Okay. I mean, it's my passion to be in front of people and talking to them. This we got to buy for cost. So this particular short story, it retails for $12.95, $10.95, whatever it is, but the cost is really low. And the way I positioned it with people at book festivals was to say, hey, if you want a sampling of 25, 26, 30, whatever the number was in the volume, Texas authors, including us, we'd like you to consider this book. So it was kind of like a loss leader. We made a few dollars on it, but we got people interested in several authors because we'd always like to share. I mean, authors help authors, right? Everybody on here I know helps each other. But we also could get them exposed to us because inside the short story, there's also our biography and our website. So we get a little bit of
collateral.
Yeah, we do. We get that.
And what it does, what you're saying, what I hear is it gives you an idea of the style that you two write in. So when I read Out of Poland, then I go over and start reading one of the Enigma series books. I mean, I could recognize immediately that this was the same people that wrote the Out of Poland book. And I liked Out of Poland, so I knew I would like the other book. So that's all the way it's going to come out because that's the style you write in.
Exactly. Yeah. And we thought that was pretty good. Then there's another group. Go ahead and tell them about this group, Mr. B.
What, the dog?
The dog.
All right, so Dallas Area Writers Group, they also have a book competition. We placed third in that, and they had a group of people that will, again, they're going to bind the stories together, sell them at cost for exposure, and it's they had the guy that did the artwork for some rock and roll star. He's doing the Texas Shorts. That's the he's in the cover for that. So it's fun, kind of whimsical. It's kind of a very much of a community type of feel for it. But the books go all over the country. They go into libraries. They get that's one of the big things that they get into. So a real good chance to be able to exercise your creative writing muscles in between the big books. Maybe you get the big books are like I'm kind of at the end of that, but people are saying, and this is what happened to us on the the out of Poland, they said, where did these guys come from? What's the backstory for, where the original R group was born? And so it's like, okay. And we were actually asked, please give me that backstory. And then we started hitting on, okay, what about this thread? And we started picking pieces out of the stories and just looking to cultivate the material that was always in the back of our mind, but never on print. So I suspect that you all have the same kind of inventory mentally for writing, but maybe it's in shorter sound bites rather than a long story.
So again, these are some links to help you do things. The one for Dallas Museum of Art was particularly interesting, and we were exposed to this by a newsletter from one of the writer groups. And there are writers groups in every area. The ones that we're showing you will allow inputs from anywhere. You don't have to live locally to be able to take advantage of these. If you want to, you can sign up and do some of the remote support. So this one is Texas only. So the Dallas Museum of Art actually called for some short stories. And what was very, very interesting about this is they've hired a bunch of actors to come in during November and read short stories. So we aren't getting a dime for this, but I so want to have one of my stories read.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. Yes.
Tommy Lee Jones is one of the actors from past that have come in and read stories. So it's like, yeah, kind of jazzy, to have that, it's but this is a very short list. There are literally dozens, if not hundreds, of areas where you can go to, and there's some that are like, if they like your short story, it'll get into to movies. It gets presented all kinds of different places. So it's very much of an introduction. Think of it as a business card for your larger properties or the big trilogies or the multiple books that you've written.
So it's exposure, right? Your name is getting out there. Your name is getting out there in a different way. Now, I'm sure none of the people that are on this call, except for Charles and I, are over the age of 60. But there's another contest that comes out every year for the ageless authors. Those are for the mature authors that are in the room.
And I had to get dispensation because I wasn't old enough, actually.
That's correct.
Okay. Special dispensation, yes.
Then there's some book clubs that you might want to consider. I mean, everybody's got their favorite clubs. This particular club called Rave Reviews Book Club, it's very interesting because they allow you to get exposure to lots of books. They allow you to do reviews. I actually just got asked recently to be one of their interviewing hosts. So, it's kind of fun to be able to do that. So then I went ahead and I got a couple of very, very long lists that I want you guys, because these slides are going to be made available to you. Sandy, you have them, I believe. If not, I will send them to you. And this is the writer groups that are in North Texas. So what I would welcome you to do is go ahead and look at each of them and see if in fact there's one near you that you want to join. There's somebody that is going to do a festival, because these are a lot of new festival opportunities as well. And then how you can join around to the different groups. So there's lots of different places that you can go here. And this is the overall writer groups themselves throughout Texas that have been gathered by a wonderful lady named Tex. I don't know if you know Tex, Sandy, but she's amazing when it comes to some.
I do know her with the red hat.
Yep.
That's her.
That's Tex. So these are just places that you might want to consider taking a look at. Do they have contests for short stories? Do you want to try and get your books in there? Is there something that maybe is a little closer to where you live? Is it something that maybe you want to, James, one of the authors that you support, really want to get involved with one of the groups? It's worth a look to just spend a few minutes going to all the links. And anybody that gives me links, I'm always so grateful, because it's like, yeah, thank you. I don't have to go look it up myself.
Okay, word of caution though, because we've had to do this. We've started, putting a property here or a property there, and they have time horizons, and it's easy to lose track of where you've put properties, particularly if you put them in a place they said, hey, if you win, it can't be published anyplace else. Or there's some places like, we don't care if it's been published someplace else. We want the short story material for our readership. So again, study the rules,
Read the rules.
stuff in, and keep track of when it's supposed to be announced, because that's it will get away from you. And all of a sudden, it's like, where did the last 2 months go? And gosh, you get an email. Sometimes you don't always get an email, or an email comes back says, congratulations, and it goes into your spam pile. And that would be a shame if you missed that. So keep
Especially
tabs.
the money ones.
Oh yeah, and they do awards to money. So not rich, but then again, you never know.
Does that make sense to everybody? Is there any questions?
Yes. What's the word count? What do they consider a short story
Thank you,
word count to
DJ.
be?
I totally forgot that you asked me that question earlier.
So it depends on the contest. Some of the contests, like the one for Texas authors and the international one, that first one that I showed you, there's a minimum count of around 3,000 words.
I was thinking more the maximum version.
Some of them, if you're actually going to publish a short story, it is 7,000 words or less. Typically, that means it's between 3,000 and 7,000. There's also a new trend going on called micro
reads.
micro reads, and those are between 1,500 and 3,000.
Or those 15.
Flash fiction's another really common name for that.
Oh, there you go. Thank you. That's right. So, it just depends. But if you want to go for a short story that you're going to post on Amazon, then you tend to want to be between the 3,000 to 7,000 words, CJ.
Great, thank you.
And so let's talk about this, though. There's a couple of things that you get. Do any of you have your books in Audible format? Okay, if you do, I did the research, and Audible per se, the Amazon Audible connected, married to Amazon, they won't do an Audible for a short story because they're too short. So either go a private Audible or do what we're thinking of doing, and that's sometime next year or maybe the year after. We're going to consolidate them all together into an anthology of our short stories.
A collection of short stories. Yes, I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's point number one. Ebooks only. Don't go to print for a short story. It's not thick enough. You can't print a spine on it. You will make yourself crazy. So consider them to be ebooks only. Consider them around 99 cents. Okay? I wouldn't give them away for free because nobody on the planet really values free. They think they do, but they don't. So I would charge.
At 99 cents, that's, if you don't have 99 cents, how do you have a PC to be able to look online? I mean, that's, wow. That's your bottom line. If you're gonna make a beefier short story, maybe say 7,000 to 10,000, you might look at $1.99, but you're pricing yourself on the market any higher than that.
One of the genres that's very interesting when you go through KDP and you actually put your story into there is called short story fiction or short story nonfiction, because that's one of the things the algorithm goes through and hunts for are short stories. So, good surprise to me. I didn't realize it initially.
Yeah. So part of what that's looking for is the short stories in nonfiction, the self-help books. That's a great place to be able to be putting, factual material, or here's a way to be able to improve, your posture or whatever. So those are the kind of considerations that really lend themselves to short stories.
Okay, and then, like I said before, avoid that KEMP read option. That just is not a good value. Out of Poland is still on that until the end of this month. I have a calendar that's going to jump in my face the day that happens. I also think pre-orders is always a good way to get the word out in advance, to get people excited about it, to do the marketing. I don't do the best marketing, but thanks to Sandy, it's getting a lot better, along with her PR and Amy's help. So I think pre-orders are a positive thing. Covers?
Yeah, you should have one.
Go ahead.
Yeah. All right, seriously. Again, we're back to that the same thing that we cautioned up front. Spend the time to do it right. Now, if it doesn't take a whole lot of dollars to be able to come up with a really nice, intriguing ebook cover, but that's not, you don't stop there. Remember that in ebook format, you can do colored, and it doesn't cost any more than black and white. So in the back of our books, our short stories.
Oh, we want to go there, don't
Yeah, yeah. If you want to go ahead and
Go ahead.
and pull it up. We burn a couple of electronic pages to be able to put in our bios, the covers for our bigger properties, other short story material, all on the back of the short story book in color. That way, you can take a look at the other properties that we have. It's an opportunity to do the branding that you need for the rest of your the other things that you've written. You're going to be able to show, hey, if you like this, there'll be other stuff for you guys to read on our from our properties. So color cover, interior books, a little bit of splash here and
Can
there.
you see that okay, you guys? Is that showing?
Yes, it is.
All right, so some of the other books that you're doing, I'm sure everybody puts something like that in their books to kind of help them know up front. But we started doing this kind of a collage, and it'll come up in a minute. But here's an interior color. We couldn't do that for a print book. We couldn't afford a print color.
Not an interior. So, it's you get a little bit, you get to have a spicier product because you're only in ebook format. So realize that you've got a little extra wiggle room for being able to put something in that would help them steer you to other properties that you have. And it looks good. I mean, it's yeah, up to it. Got to jump to the next page, to the end page, to be able to show you the neat stuff. There. So the collage that you've got on your other properties, the a little bit of bio information about you, how to be able to get a hold of you, your contact information, all that should be at the end of the short story for the people that want to be able to know more about what else you've written.
And please review, because we all live and die by reviews, right? It's crazy.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, so the covers and the interior, again, spend the time to be able to turn out a quality product, because then it points people into the fact that you're a serious author, and here's all the other stuff that you can read.
Now, the other benefit to doing a short story is technically ebooks do not need to have an ISBN. So, you don't really have to put one, you don't have to pay for one out of Bokers. We do because we're trying to keep track of it, but no, you do not have to have it. And then, of course, add the pages. Okay, so we had something else that we were going to do here, though.
Rox, while you're looking, I remember that you said something about one of them, a couple of things you've said to me about yours, but some of them require it to be not published anywhere else, right?
Yeah.
That's for some of the contests and stuff.
Yeah, because they want, if you win.
They want new material. They don't want you to take the same short story and send it to everybody.
So for example, the Texas authors one, they want it to be never have been published anywhere before, and they'll hold control for 9 months, and then they'll release it. There are some that don't care if it's been published like the Dallas Museum of Art one, they don't care if it's been published in 20 different places.
Really? Okay, that surprises me, but that's good to know. I didn't know if all of them were like that or not. So, okay.
Again, you have to read the
Read the submission guidelines.
submission guidelines, because that'll save you an awful lot of grief. Imagine the heartbreak of submitting it to the same story 4 different places and having 4 different wins, and they all insist on having the exclusive rights.
Yeah.
That would be, that turns into another problem. Like, okay, well, where do I spend my powder for a story that I think is really pretty good? But then we're back to what we started with at the beginning of the discussion, which is keep writing, keep cranking out new stuff, keep extracting ideas and putting them into a format so you can have an inventory. Just like this is retail, you have to have inventory, and people are always going to ask you, "What's new? What are you doing? Tell me about the next best thing that you're doing." I can see all the evidence of what you cranked out, but that reinforces the fact that you're an author.
It also gives you good ways of using those characters. So one of the reasons additionally that we got into it is because we have a whole universe of characters across the series, and the backstories are very, very important. And they're important because they allow us to, do like Charles said, without a Poland, what was the original reason for the R group? How did they get together? So we took care of that. But then we have this other really, really delicious villain called Zara, who has been a bad girl. She's like the biggest hacker cracker on the world. And, things got away from her. She's got reasons for her life. And she got hooked up with a guy named Buzz. And Buzz is, he's rich and lazy but fun. And anyways, that's part of Love's Enigma, is those two get together. And so it's a very different way of looking at things. So again, different genres. In that particular one, we're in women's contemporary. So now we're going to be exposed in techno thrillers, women's contemporary,
Historical fiction.
and historical fiction. So that's quite a bit to do.
Is it a romance between them?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So you could put it in romance?
You could, but we chose women's contemporary because romance, technically, the way I understand the genre, has an absolutely happy ending.
Oh. So this doesn't, I'm guessing. Okay.
Oh,
Thanks for preparing me for that.
They're a little challenged. Let's
Yes.
say that. I think CJ has read it, so she would agree. They're a little challenged.
They are, but it's a good read.
You like that? Oh, good. I'm glad.
No, and I like the ending, actually.
Oh, good.
Is it a kissing book?
Nope.
Nope, it's not a kissing book. It's not a smutty.
Okay. No, I was just quoting Princess Bride. It's a
Oh,
kissing
Love and marriage.
Marriage.
Love and marriage. No,
I love
it's a good read, and it's a quick read too. I read it this morning. Like
That was you're talking about Love's Enigma?
Hmm?
Ah.
I put a review on I started a new website page on my website called Future Books, and the new releases, when they come out, I put their links that they're 99 cents and the review for it. So it's up there.
Very good.
So again, that drives home to the fact that a lot of people have got so much time to be able to read, and the short stories are good reads to be able to get in a satisfying read. People can consume it and say, I'm done with that. I don't have to, I'm on page 20 and there's another 400 pages. Sometimes that's tough for some people and in their schedules. So
It did want me wanting more, though.
To what now?
It did want me wanting more.
Then we have achieved our goal,
That's
CJ.
right.
I know. I knew that would make you happy.
And I felt the same way about Out of Poland, because I'm like, oh, this is the end. I thought they were getting ready to go somewhere else. And I'm like, oh, this is the end of the book.
So I think it's very interesting to be able to dabble. So do any of you who write long stories struggle sometimes because you like hit a block or you hit a road and you say, wow, I just can't write anymore on this right now, and you set it aside? That ever happened to any of you?
That's part of my
happened to
writing
me-
style.
Yeah.
Okay.
What happened to me, I jump into another story.
There you go. So what I'm suggesting is maybe you jump into a short story so you can get that, little breath of achievement. And I think that sometimes gets to be my issue is I just don't always feel satisfied because Charles said, it's in the editor for 2 months and then it's doing this for 2 months and then it's getting, formatted and, oh, there's a cover. Well, that's boring. Sorry.
Well, unfortunately, my short stories always wind up being long stories. Because I start to write and I'm thinking short story. 'Cause I used to be a short story writer. Well, not used to be, but I went from novel to short stories because I wanted to get published by a publisher. And I figured it took me too long to write novels. I can crank out 3-4 short stories in the time it takes you to write one novel, and I can get those published. And then, of course, I found out it's just as hard to get short stories published as novels.
Well, that's true. But what I find now, especially with the COVID deal, is we have a lot of people that are picking up books. They're liking the podcast, but they don't want to devote a really, really long time to reading a story in many cases. So these short reads kind of help them, I don't know, get an easier. It's a short escape. It's an easy escape, just like a podcast is. They can listen and do something, or they can, read it in a pretty rapid manner. So
I liked it because it gave me a taste. You know what I mean?
uh-huh.
Yeah. And again, that was the intent. That like, this is how we write. If this is a pleasing storyline, then the other ones are waiting for you to read.
Yeah, I wrote the short story for our Christmas anthology we're doing.
Yep.
And I think it's a really good way for those who want to understand what the 3 series are about. So I'm excited for it to come out.
I think it's awesome. And that was the other one I was going to mention, CJ, is your contest or your short story for Christmas time. I mean, that's a huge deal to try and get a backstory into there. We're really excited about that.
Well, the other one too, like the Betham and Son, they're out there in East Texas, and they solicit only Texas-based themes, and they actually put in a criteria. And the one for this year is the short story competition. It has to be from the Texas coast.
And those of you that are not familiar with Fern, she started on anthologies, and actually the Houston Writers Guild used to have a book every year that was an anthology that everybody that was a member could submit a story for that. And at the end of the year, it would be published and, all that. So, yeah, I think anthologies is a great way. So, Red, I think that would be something I would consider if I were you. That's a great way to help everybody, but also to get a book that you only have to write just a little part of. Everybody else would write it. And then you have somebody that does the editing and all that. But I think I used to look forward to her anthologies, and we always had an event where people would come and the winners, first, second, and third place, got to read their story. So there's a lot you can do with having an anthology or a short story. Now, I wasn't as familiar with the short stories because I didn't know anyone that wrote short stories, but the anthology, I was very familiar with that. I actually love that idea.
The beauty of an anthology, though, is that the other authors within the anthology are also pushing the book out to their readers. So it's like extra advertising for you.
Well,
And when absolutely, and when you put it on Amazon and everybody's commenting and all that stuff, yes, I was part of an anthology a few years ago, and I loved the whole idea, and have some ideas from that. I never knew if I wanted to do an anthology or submit to an anthology or what, but we had some ideas that we did to promote that one that I would definitely will carry with me to the next book, because it was great ideas. I loved it.
and that's one of the reasons why going into the Indie Lecter one or going into Dog, Indie Lecter is this year, so you will get those out in October, November is his time frame on publishing that book. So it's not bad to make the effort now if you've got one that's kind of close that you can kind of polish up and send in there.
Yep.
It might be in that book in the final production. Dog, they just closed theirs and announced their winners, but they'll do the same thing next year. They'll go for a third year in a row. So
and Dawn, remind me when we meet this week to talk about, you've already got tons of stuff, so let's see what we can do, because that would be a way of getting some publicity for you, would be, again, a short story. And you said they're due at the end of the month?
The ones for Indie Lecter and Texas authors, yeah, they're due at the end of July.
Okay. Any more questions for Rox and Charles? One of the things I love about hanging out with them is they have lots and lots and lots of ideas. So they're constantly coming up with a new idea and a new way to do this. And I think it's great. So I think you guys need to hang out with us more, Rox and Charles, so we can get more of your ideas.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
We like being a part of this group because I think authors are always better together. So
Thank you. I do too.
I do have a question.
Okay.
This is Tarina. What would you say the demographics are of those who typically migrate towards short stories? Would you say millennials, 20 plus? What would you say?
I think it's everybody. I think it depends on the genre.
Exactly. The genre that you're targeting, because if a short story was made for a good children's book, why not? I mean, you can take, we just got finished with one competition. It's like, here's a phrase and build a story around it. What a fun exercise. I mean, and we got that kind of challenge, but it had a lot of attributes of a children's story.
So there honestly, to answer your question, it's not just one thing. I think the younger people tend to have less time on their hands. So the short story makes sense to be able to sit and finish it in one sitting. I think it's easier. I know, young mothers, they're very busy chasing after kids. If they get 30 minutes to just read a story and put their feet up in between the demands of a child and a husband and a household and all of that, then I mean, that's a fun read. But genre has a lot to do with it too. Which is why we're attacking some of these other genres, so that we can grab some of the audiences that like historical fictions, or grab some other audiences that like, women's contemporary, or, and so forth. One of the comments back from one of the reviewers on Out of Poland was, wow, I really like this. I've never heard of these authors, but now I'm going to go look for them. I mean, that's an exciting thing. CJ, you said it too, which was, I want to read more. I think that's our goal. That's awesome.
Because if they like the short story and they didn't commit that much of their time to read the short story, but now they know they like the way you guys write, so they're, now they can invest more time and go to read one of the full-length novels that you have. So great. And so but this is specifically for you guys. Is it necessary, or is it beneficial, I guess, to read them in order? Because you guys, Rox and Charles, have a bazillion books out there. So and you never know, because I did not start with the first one. I started with Enigma Rising. So a couple of times I've thought, I wonder if this was explained more in a previous book. So my question is, is it better to read from the beginning?
For the series?
Mm-hmm.
It's richer if you start at the beginning, but we write them deliberately so you can enjoy them out of order. We've actually had people grab the wrong book and start. He goes, "Wow, that was great. I didn't realize it read number 2 instead of number 1 or number 3." So we bring just enough of the character history forward to be able to make it relevant, but not so much. If you've read the earlier books, it's not painful to be able to get through it. That's the thing that we can't stand. So I don't like being subjected to that, so we won't do it to anybody else.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
That's
Okay,
a great question. It's a really good question.
Anybody have any questions for Rox and Charles specifically, or about short stories, or anybody have any other ideas of ways that you can take what you write and go sell it somewhere else and make money, have a new revenue stream? That's one of the things I've been looking at as I'm looking for ideas for speakers for this Monday night training, is what kind of ideas can I give you that you can take and run with them, so it helps you to either add an additional revenue stream to what you're already doing, or let you just add something totally different. So I love that, but I got distracted because I happened to look down and see Lydia's comment to Amy, and so that was pretty funny. Jeremy.
I mean, I love this idea of short stories, for especially if you have something like Enigma, where it's an entire universe that you've created. So you have something world built, and there's lots of red slippers in there. That's a reference to one of my favorite authors, where you have something that, like a home story, where Watson is saying, as we wrapped up the tale of the soul, the lone red slipper, we got a knock at the door and we weren't sure. And then it ends up being something else in the story, is the story that he's actually telling, but we never know what the red slipper is. What the heck was the red slipper? We didn't even hear about it. And sometimes the Holmes writer told those stories, sometimes he didn't tell those stories, but red slippers are awesome. And because mine's totally world built. It's a game though, but what I saw for the first time in this was the ability to introduce people to the game through the short stories, because there's so many red slippers and they can't be told in the game because the game is specific to the game. And if it doesn't have anything to do with gameplay, then why are you putting it in the game? Like the editing that somebody was talking about earlier, you got to edit that stuff out. However, it can be short stories, and people that read whatever genre they're going to read. I don't know if that's me or somebody else, but if they're going to read whatever genre they're going to read, if they're going to read sci-fi fantasy and they just want to read some short story and they go, oh, what's this? Oh, this is a game. Let me check out the game. So I think it is great. I mean, it's not something I'll do right away. The game comes first, obviously, but what a cool idea to put these little 99-cent a red slipper within the game that I can actually tell the story. It can't be in the game, can't be in any of the game books, but it can be in these little short stories, and then it'll lead people back to the game.
Exactly. Yeah.
Hope you do, Jeremy. I look forward to hearing about it when you do.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you could with the game, you can still stay to what you write, which is the game, and still stay focused on that, but at the same time you have ideas of ways that you could write a short, ways that you could tell the story, and lead people into those that might want to come in just for the game or whatever. I just think that's great that you saw that. So thank you. Anybody else? If you want to say something, because Jeremy, I just happened to look down and see your hand up, so I may not see your hand. So just unmute yourself and start talking.
I really like Kathleen's comment, or Catherine.
I did too.
I'm motivated to go to some short stories I have tucked in the basement of my computer. I love that comment. It's terrific.
Unfortunately, mine are all written on typewriter paper. So a lot of my short stories I have to convert over and
that gives you a good chance to review it.
Oh,
since you didn't just write it yesterday, obviously. So that'd be great.
I can revise them and stuff like that, because I actually have a box or two of short stories sitting in my cabinet over there. That is like, some of these stories I do love. I love the story and what's the name, but it's like, I wrote them for like magazines, because back in the day, you write them for like Reader Digest did a couple of the sci-fi magazines. So I wrote a lot of sci-fi stories.
Like Judith always says, repurpose that stuff, James. Come on.
Yes. Yes. When I have time with all the millions of other things. But anyway, yeah, I'm going to get to it.
That is something you could get someone to help you with, James.
James.
I know.
Sleep is for the weak.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I'm already an insomniac. Now, if I wasn't a drunk, I'd be okay.
Yeah, I hear you.
So Kathy Helwisen, she said she liked what you said. Do you want to comment on that? Because I think it's a great idea too.
Comment on what?
Kathy.
Oh, Kathy.
I when I was member of some writing critique groups, I tried out a couple of short stories and got some feedback on them, and then I moved on and I never did anything with them. But I had never really thought about just trying to submit them to a few contests. I like the idea. I'm going to try that.
All right.
Yeah, so thank you.
You're welcome. I hope you do.
And so, Rox, if I will look through your presentation and get the ones that you've got there. But I have some other links that I'll share. So, Amy, you and I can maybe put together a comprehensive list of places where you could submit a short story, or we'll start it with that. But there's other things you can do with books, or with networking, or with things that are online. I don't know how many of you know about AskDavid.com, because they have like right about 100,000 Twitter followers, and for $15 a year, you can submit a Twitter tweet, I guess, to them, and they'll post it, and they connect with you. I used to do that all the time, but then I got busy with other things.
What's the name again?
Ask David.
AskDavid.com. It's really cool because they send you the form that you need to fill out, and it's all done for you. Once you put one link in, you can go back and select that one again, go down, and when you've got enough characters in the tweet that it stops you, automatically puts your tag at the end, the @Sandy Lawrence for me. And then when you submit it, if it's got anything wrong with it, then they'll tell you. And you can only submit one every so in other words, if you submit two too close together, it comes back and says, you got to wait till this time. So it's a really full website of things you can do. But that was the thing I loved the most, and I did that for months. So check it out, and if that's something anybody wants to do, just let me know. I'll be glad to help you with that. So, okay. So I've got a couple of announcements. First, I'm going to say we met our deadline, but this was not our first deadline. So our goal was to get the affiliate program launched in June. So we did. Well, no, by the first week of July, whatever. But anyway, we launched it last week. Amy launched it last week, I should say. I provide the content. She does all the technology. So if you are interested in signing up to be part of our affiliate program, then you should have received an email last week. If you didn't, let us know. We'll send you the link. Or Amy, why don't you put it in the comment here?
The link was in the email tonight. It was also in the email on Friday.
Okay.
2 emails, but it's in the email tonight. It's down at the bottom before I put the Facebook link to the group for you guys to keep, checking out and staying active. The link's right above that for the affiliate links, like in all caps.
So once you sign up to be part of the program, then as we add products, which the first product we're going to add will be the membership, being part of Through the Eyes of Authors. And we'll be getting that to you. We're working on that. So that'll be the very first one we do.
No, that one's already up. So if you become an affiliate, that's the first product that you get. The next one's going to be the webinar that we're doing to kick off Sandy's challenge in the course, which is August 5th, is the webinar at 7. That's going to be the next product. But right now, the affiliate link will sign you up to be an affiliate for Through the Eyes of Authors. And once you go, there's no need to go to the marketplace or anything like that. It'll automatically show you what your product is, and you can click the My Link on the right-hand side, and it'll pull it up, and that is your affiliate link that you can put in your emails or anything like that. So if you're signing up to be an affiliate tonight, you're signing up to be an affiliate for the Through the Eyes of Authors membership.
Sweet.
If you have any questions, ask Amy.
Yeah, just send me an email, people. I will help you and be tech support.
Amy she definitely will. She bails me out all the time because somebody sent back an email after we sent out the first one and said they couldn't find it or whatever, and I'm like, oh my God, I can see myself getting 3,000 emails saying I cannot find the product. Where's the product? And so of course I panicked and called Amy, and I'm like, Amy, oh my God. And she said, they don't need to do anything, it's already done. So she talked to them and got them down off the fence.
Down off the ledge.
Yeah, got off the ledge, and I came down with it. So that was great. So Amy's doing an amazing job with the technology. I'm writing the content for it. So I'm a member of several affiliate groups, of several affiliate programs with different people. And one of the things I've been doing is my research. Right, David? I've been researching all of the affiliate programs and seeing what do they say about this, and what do they say about this, and how do they handle this. So, so that's what I've been doing. And so now we got all the content in there. So you get, you get your auto responders, you get an email back saying, this is what happened. So anyway, and Amy took care of making sure all of that works. So thank you, Amy. And so that's now the next product that we'll be adding to the affiliate program will be, as Amy said, the one we're going to introduce in the webinar on August 5th, the Wednesday night, first Wednesday in August. We are doing a webinar, already started getting the word out. Had a call with my online business coach today, and so we got everything all set up. It's all ready to go, and you'll start getting emails on that in about a week. So anyway, that's all done. That will be the first product, and I'll give you the name of that as we go. So because I'm redoing a course we taught here a couple of years ago. So by the way, in September, we will be celebrating our 2nd anniversary, 2 years of Through the Eyes of Authors. And I'm so excited that we, 2 years, we're still doing it. We haven't killed each other yet, Amy and I, and we're still moving forward. So, so that's one announcement. I did want to make sure we announced the webinar in August. Anything else, Amy, that we got going on that we want to announce?
No, you have covered it all.
And then for this week, we have on Wednesday night, we have John Ford's cover reveal. Yeah. So James, you and I need to talk about that a little more, since I can never seem to get a hold of John. So we need to get that plan to make sure he's going to be there. And then Saturday, we have Fern will be doing hers, 7 to 9. Haley will be part of Fern. She's going to be one of the guest authors on there. And then our friend Greg will be doing his launch of his audio book for his book Tess at noon on Saturday. So lots of good stuff. And then the next week will be the 18th, and that's when we have John Ford's book launch on the 18th. And then August 1st is
well, we have on the 25th, and then August 1st is Mark.
So what's on the who's on the 25th?
Delia.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I wonder where she is tonight. So Delia, we're doing her second. It's her birthday party. So for her birthday party, we're going to do everything on Facebook Live like we did for her launch. She had a great time. Her family loved it. We found out that her son, she kept telling us, he's a very important person at Sony. We're like, oh, okay. So when we did the video, there he was, and he was talking to us, and so I looked up his name. He is the vice president of entertainment for Sony Pictures. So I'm like, yeah, he is kind of a big deal at Sony. So
I don't know if mine counts, but the 27th of July, I'm going to be on Author Talk because Chief and Sarge's book is going to be free for the ebook that week.
Yay!
Ah, yes, that counts. Of course that counts. So we definitely want to, and we'll promote that even more as we get closer to it. So anybody else have any announcements?
Yes.
Okay.
Everybody, I'm going to be doing the Slover Library online. So go to sloverlibrary.com, register, it's free. Join me and about a dozen other authors. And Mark, thank you for editing my video. It was a marvelous job.
Absolutely, sir.
You make me look really good.
So thank y'all all here. Roxanne and Charles, thank you both very much for sharing that. When they were telling me about all these short stories, I said, you know, that's a great idea for all of the authors in our group. So will you come share that with them? And so thank you for doing that. Appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing all of you on Friday. So have a great week.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Y'all have safe times. Bye-bye.
Sandy, we'll